But what else?
Hmm.
What if the opposite is true? What if the economic principles that govern these information markets are actually uh, incredibly durable?
That's the real confusion, I think. If you're an executive trying to roll out new software, or maybe an online magazine,
Yeah.
you realize pretty quickly that the classical economics you learned in college, simple supply and demand for like corn or something, it just doesn't work.
It doesn't give you the playbook you need.
Yeah.
You can't model an AI program the same way you model a market for potatoes.
Not at all. You need a completely different kind of calculus.
Right. You need those deep strategic insights that explain why some companies can give things away for free and become huge,
Yeah.
while others fail when they try to charge, well, anything at all.
Precisely. And that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to get into the core rules of the network economy. We'll explore the weird cost structures, why differential pricing is basically mandatory, the power of lock-in, and the almost scary force of network effects.
And I think we have to start with the fundamental paradox here, because it seems to dictate everything else that follows.
I agree.
Information is incredibly costly to produce, but it's unbelievably cheap to reproduce.
It's the highest leverage cost structure there is. I mean, think about the initial investment.
Okay.
For a publisher, a specialized textbook might cost hundreds of thousands of dollars in research, writing, editing, all before you print a single copy.
Or Hollywood, right. A movie script and the actual filming could be $100 million sunk cost.
Exactly. These are enormous, upfront, fixed costs.
And you have to recover all of that somehow.
Yes. But once you have that first perfect digital copy, the cost to duplicate it is tiny. It's almost zero.
Printing a book might be $1 or $2. Copying a movie file costs, what, cents?
Right. And that huge gap-high fixed cost, near zero variable cost, that's what creates these extreme economies of scale.
And if you've got massive economies of scale, you need massive volume to make it work.
It completely changes your strategy.
Yeah, it leads you away from classical economics entirely.
Absolutely. It brings you to the #1 strategic rule of the information economy.
Yeah.
You have to price your information based on its value to the customer, not its cost to you.
If you try to do a simple cost-plus model, you're just going to fail.
You'll fail. And we have a perfect story that shows what happens when a market forgets that rule, or when competition just forces the price down.
You're talking about the CD phone books?
The history of the CD phone book. It is the perfect case study.
Okay, lay it out for us.
So back in 1986, 9X, the phone company, they put out a New York area directory on a disc. And they knew the data was valuable, so they charged a pretty hefty price.
How much?
$10,000 per disc.
Wow. Okay, so they knew what it was worth to their big customers.
They did. Then a competitor comes along, ProCD. They see an opportunity for a national directory. But the phone companies won't license their data cheaply. So ProCD makes this incredibly bold decision. They decide to just create the data themselves.
From scratch.
From scratch. They hired workers in China for about $3.50 a day.
Oh.
And had them type in all 70 million U.S. listings. Not once, but twice.
Twice. For verification.
For verification,
Yeah.
just to guarantee accuracy. It was a massive, massive sunk cost.
That's incredible audacity. They spend millions just to create the initial product, betting they could recover it.
And for a little while, they did. They were selling copies that cost pennies to make for hundreds of dollars. They were capturing that value.
There's a but coming, isn't there?
There is. The lesson is, once ProCD and a few other companies had all sunk that cost, the data itself became a commodity. It was out there.
And that's when the real price war starts. Competition kicks in and just drives the price down toward that.
Toward that marginal cost of near zero, it was inevitable.
So today, a CD phone directory is worthless. You can get it online for free with ads.
Exactly. The market just couldn't support the high prices once that initial barrier creating the data was gone.
Okay, so if the marginal cost is basically zero and competition will always push the price down to that floor, the only way to make your money back is to charge different customers different prices.
It's not an option, it's a requirement. Differential pricing is the single most important tool you have.
Because you can't price on cost, you have to price on what each person is willing to pay.
Right. And we generally see three main approaches: personalized pricing, versioning, and then group pricing.
I want to dig into versioning because
Yeah.
it seems so, I don't know, elegant. You design the product line so that people basically tell you what they're willing to pay.
They self-select. And the oldest trick in the book for versioning is simply delay.
Ah, like with books. Hardback versus paperback?
Exactly. The impatient readers who value it the most, they buy the expensive hardback right away.
While the more patient, price-sensitive readers just wait a few months for the cheap paperback. Same book, different price points based on time.
And you see this exact model in financial services today. You can pay, say, $50 a month for real-time stock quotes.
Right, for immediacy.
Or you can pay maybe $9 a month for the exact same information, but it's delayed by 20 minutes. The company is deliberately making the cheaper version worse.
That's fascinating. So it's not just about what you add to the premium version, it's about what you strategically take away from the basic one.
That's the key. Then you have versioning by features and capability. Intuit is the master of this with Quicken.
Quicken Basic versus Quicken Deluxe.
Right. Basic is for casual users. Deluxe has all these extra tools, mutual fund finders, complex calculators that only a power user would pay extra for.
So you're creating hurdles that only the highest value customers will bother to jump over.
Perfect analogy. Or think about specialized software like voice recognition from Kurzweil. The basic version has a general vocabulary.
Okay.
But if you need the medical or legal vocabulary sets, those are separate modules and they are way more expensive.
Because the value to a doctor or lawyer is so much higher, they self-segment.
It happens naturally. You can even version based on the user interface itself.
How did that work?
Well, take a company like Knight Ridder. They have Dialogue Web, which is incredibly powerful, but you need a ton of training to use it. It's for information professionals.
Sure.
Then they'll offer a parallel product, like Datastar, with a simple interface that needs no training. It's less powerful, but it captures that whole casual market that would never pay for the complex version.
So moving from these broad versions to something more specific, the internet has just supercharged that old saying, know thy customer.
It's a total shift from mass marketing to mass customization.
Right.
On the web, a server can watch what millions of customers are doing in real time, what they click on, what they buy, and instantly serve up custom ads or content. It's true one-to-one marketing.
The genius example of this early on was Hotmail. They gave you email for free.
The price was $0, but the cost was your information. You had to fill out a questionnaire. Demographics, interests.
And that data let them put customized ads right next to your emails. They built a massive advertising platform on the back of a free service.
They turned your personal data into currency.
And you see Amazon doing this constantly, tracking your clicks, your purchases. It's not just for convenience.
No, it's about building a perfect profile of what you value so they can recommend things and maybe even offer you a special price that's tuned just for you.
Capturing the data is the first move.
Absolutely.
And once you've captured that customer, you have to keep them. Which brings us to another huge concept in this economy. Lock-in.
Lock-in is it's everywhere in technology markets. It happens whenever a user invests in something durable that's tied to one specific vendor.
And what kind of durable assets are we talking about?
It could be anything from data files in a proprietary format to specific hardware or even just the training, the years your staff spent learning one particular system. We call it wetware.
And switching becomes incredibly expensive and risky.
And that's where the vendor gets their power. There's this sort of brutal equation for this. The profit a company can earn from a locked-in customer is basically equal to their total switching costs. If those costs are high, the vendor can charge a lot in the aftermarket.
And the classic, kind of terrifying example of this is the Bell Atlantic case.
Oh, it's chilling. So Bell Atlantic invests $3 billion in AT&T's proprietary digital switches.
A huge long-term investment.
A huge investment. And that immediately locked them in because they depended on AT&T's software for any future upgrades or features.
So they couldn't just shop around when they needed something new.
They couldn't. AT&T had them. So when Bell Atlantic needed software to recognize the new 888 toll-free numbers, AT&T charged them $8 million.
Wow.
When they needed voice dialing software, another $10 million. These aftermarket upgrades were 30 to 40% of AT&T's revenue from those switches.
So the lesson is you have to bargain hard before you make that initial investment.
You have to see the future switching costs coming. And lock-in isn't just a corporate thing. It affects all of us. Think about the debate over telephone number portability.
Right. The hassle of changing your phone number.
The cost for one person might be small, but when you add it up across millions of people, it creates this huge collective switching cost.
Which acts as a barrier to entry for competitors trying to steal customers away.
It's all about friction. And vendors will even create synthetic friction to keep you. That's the whole point of loyalty programs.
Like frequent flyer miles.
Exactly. If you switch airlines, You forfeit your miles. That's an explicit switching cost.
You're intentionally giving up value if you leave.
Or even look at a local grocery store like Dorothy Lane. They track customer purchases, and they give their absolute top customers a free Thanksgiving turkey.
Ah.
They're using data to reward their most profitable users and make it feel costly, financially, and even emotionally to go somewhere else.
So building on that, let's talk about the dynamic that creates these winner-take-all markets. I'm talking about positive feedback.
Positive feedback is driven by what we call network externalities. It's a simple idea, really. The value of a product goes up the more people use it. Think of a real network, like a phone, or a virtual one, like all the people using the Macintosh operating system.
The more Mac users there are, the more developers make software for it.
Which makes the Mac more valuable, which attracts more users. It's a self-reinforcing loop.
And that's why growth in these markets isn't linear. It follows that classic S-curve.
Exactly. It starts slow, then there's this explosive takeoff once you hit critical mass, and then it levels off. That's what creates the huge winners and losers.
And if you're launching a new technology into that environment, you face these two huge strategic choices right away. The first is performance versus compatibility.
It's a fork in the road. Do you go the revolution path? Amazing performance, but zero compatibility with what's already out there.
Like CDMA cell technology was initially.
Right. Or do you choose evolution, where you prioritize backward compatibility, even if it limits how good your new tech can be?
Like 56K modems being compatible with the older 28.8K ones.
That choice really defines your path to critical mass.
And the second big trade-off is openness versus control.
This is all about the size of the pie versus the size of your slice.
Okay.
If you choose an open standard, you get way more users, the network effect kicks in faster, and the whole pie gets bigger. But your individual slice is smaller.
Adobe did this with PostScript, right? They let anyone write interpreters for it.
Yes, and that made PostScript the industry standard. Adobe benefited from the whole market growing.
But the flip side is you invite competition.
You do. The alternative is proprietary control. Think of Nintendo in the early days, charging royalties to every game developer.
A smaller pie, but they get a much bigger, more controlled slice.
Exactly. The choice depends on how strong you think your tech is and how powerful those network effects are.
There's a fascinating historical lesson here that connects back to that idea of distribution, and that's the rental model.
Oh, yeah. It's so counterintuitive.
It always looks like a huge threat, but it's often an accelerator.
Go back to the 18th century. Circulating libraries. Publishers were terrified because people were renting expensive novels instead of buying them.
Fewer sales. Instant panic.
Of course. But by making access so cheap, these libraries grew the number of frequent readers from around 80,000 to over 5 million.
Wow.
It massively expanded the base of people who eventually did start buying books. The whole market grew.
And we saw the exact same panic with Hollywood and the VCR in the 80s.
They were petrified. They saw piracy and loss of control.
And yet,
Video rentals are what created the critical mass for the VCR itself. Everyone bought one to watch rentals. And now Hollywood makes more money from home video and streaming than from the box office.
so the durable lesson is that cheaper distribution, whether it's renting or sharing, it might feel like a threat.
But it's often the catalyst that creates a huge new mass market.
Yeah.
It just shifts the challenge from protecting a small, high-priced market to monetizing a giant, low-cost one.
So as we wrap this up, the message seems clear. Technology is always changing. But these core economic principles, pricing, lock-in, standards wars, they're really durable.
They're the strategic anchors. And the lessons for you as a manager are rooted right there. For pricing, if you're in a commodity market, you have to add value. Package information for specific industries like Reuters does with news, so you're not just competing on price.
And for versioning, if you're not sure how your market segments, the advice is to use the Goldilocks approach.
Always 3 versions, a basic, a premium, and a luxury. And plan to make most of your money on the middle one.
And finally, with lock-in, the lesson is,
Bargain hard before you're locked in. Get those concessions up front. Because once you've made that big proprietary investment, your bargaining power is gone.
that's a great framework. But we have to leave you with one final provocative thought that sort of ties this all together. It's called the durable goods problem.
And it's a unique challenge for anyone selling information. Companies like Microsoft or Adobe, they sell software that's highly durable. You don't throw it away.
So they're always competing against their own installed base. The customer already has the old version, and it works just fine.
Exactly. So what does that force them to do to survive, to get you to upgrade?
They have to innovate faster and faster, right, to make the new thing compelling.
Yes, but there's another piece to it. It also means they often have to offer free or cheap lagged upgrades, giving away an older version just to get people off ancient systems.
Why do that?
Two reasons. It lowers their own support costs for those ancient versions, but more importantly, it stops a rival from using compatibility with that old system as a wedge to steal your customers away. It's like burning your own ship so the enemy has no place to dock.